Coming up this week on the Digital Lifestyle Show, Gary's here, and we're going to catch up on our news. I'm going to be talking about the sound packs I've been working on, the recreation of a classic synth that I've got that someone has put a plugin for. It's a retro kit with an old Korg module. Gary's going to be talking smart home. He's got new cameras and other things he wants to talk about. So let's get straight to Garry. Garry, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, I've been away for a couple of weeks, but I've been thoroughly enjoying listening to the shows. Last week's was just brilliant. We all really good to hear enthusiasts talk to each other.
yeah, it was great. It was great to last week. So I really enjoyed that one, talking with Mark about 50 years in the music biz playing synthesizers. That's pretty good. Yeah, so I did enjoy talking to Mark. Yeah, we've had some good chats, some good of the synth chats as well. So, yeah, I think the format works quite well. So it's nice to mix it up. So we have our chats and then we have some others as well. So it's working out quite nice. Yeah.
Good stuff.
So it's good. Anyway, we're going to catch up with you. I've got a few bits and pieces I've been working on that I wanted to talk about. I've been comparing a new plugin that my old Jen SX1000, the one with the bottom one down, the bottom down there, someone's made a plugin version. Talk about that. I've had some new sound packs and a new community project as well that I wanted to talk about. So let's catch up with you first though. So how are things going with you?
Good. I've got a few gadgets to talk about. I've been getting some very cheap review kits from China, but including this wonderful box, which is the Smart Camera Dual View Camera, outdoor indoor. It says this may be the cheapest OnViv camera you can buy. If people don't know what OnViv is, it's a standard basically for discovery of cameras, for use in sort of general NVR network video recorders, also commonly known as NVRs, and some of the software things like Blue Iris, which is the one I use. So although it has got its own app and it's got its own cloud and you can subscribe to that, you don't need to use that. You can use the OnViv channel to discover the RTSP streams. And the interesting thing about this one, and you might get that from the name because it says it's a dual view camera. No, I'll just go and grab the camera off the camera. Yeah, hopefully you can see that.
Oh, there it is. Yep.
So this has actually got two cameras. So it's got a fixed point of view what they call the panorama camera, and then it's got a sort of like a spotlight tracking camera on the bottom. And they are actually independent streams. So so if you think about it, you could have this fixed outside looking over a particular area, and then if someone walks past, you can have them being tracked by, and it's got all the AI stuff and everything you can do, but you just plug it into whatever your system can support. It's got lights on it as well. So yeah, pretty good. It appears to be quite waterproof. It's pretty well sealed from what I can see. It's got actual proper rubber seal on all the ports. It's Wi-Fi or Ethernet. You've got an Ethernet connection as well, and it actually comes with all the bits to waterproof that piece as well. It doesn't come with anything to waterproof the power, but that's not unusual on this, and it's just a normal sort of 12 volt power supply. Came with a very dodgy charger, 12 volts charger. Well, at least the plug on it was very dodgy. I'm not sure about the actual chargers. I've used what a UK standard one, but this apparently you can buy on places like Alibaba, AliExpress for 12 quid.
Blimey.
So yeah, I think it's pretty impressive. So yeah, it's and it runs a piece of software which is you have to set it up for its software, which is a little bit clunky, but it is quite good in one way. Obviously that's potentially talking to China and all the stuff which might be a little bit concerning for some people, but once you've got it set up on OnViv, you can just turn all that on, and it works absolutely happily as an independent camera. So you don't need to run their software to do it. It works quite well. It's the setup was quite interesting. It basically does it on Bluetooth, so you can then set it up and then just things. So, but once you set it up, you're fine. I mean, the way I've got it, the way I usually set all my cameras up, they're on an independent network which doesn't talk to the outside world. The only thing which talks to the outside world is my server. so I've got full control over that. So you've got all the sort of things you'd want to be able to do with a camera. And the image quality is really good. Night vision's excellent. It has kind of like a starlight vision on it as well, which makes a quite good approach. So it's made by a company called Besder, BESDER. So it's the Besder dual lens camera. And yeah, it just seems to work really, really well.
So if you're going to put it outdoors, you still need to power it from something then, like you said, the 12
Yeah,
volt.
so yeah, I mean, so you, obviously it's 12 volts, so you need to get some sort of charge for that. I mean, most of my cameras, I actually have plug-in doors and the lead leading outside somehow, because obviously that you can plug that sort of externally or internally and route your cable through to it. But what you could equally do is power over Ethernet. That's the other approach. I've done a little power over Ethernet adapter plugged into that, and would work quite happily, and just run an Ethernet cable out to it. So that would work quite well. But yeah, it seems good. I mean, I don't know how reliable it is, but price. You could get several of them for the price of an equivalent one. So yeah, it's quite an interesting camera.
Yeah, I was thinking of getting a new camera but I was thinking of getting another Blink, but they've been quite good, because I do like the ones that I don't have to run the cables for, and Blink are quite good for that. So, but yeah, I suppose there are other options. But with Blink, I mean, I don't currently pay for any extra services, but whenever you buy anything nowadays, they're trying to get you to go with an extra service, aren't you? Like above the basics. So sometimes it's nice to have your own sort of roll your own system. Yeah.
So looking at I'm just looking at the current import price. It's slightly more expensive than it was last time I looked, but this particular one, which is the 4K 8 megapixel version, is £16.84 on AliExpress, including delivery, including customs duty, which is pretty incredible, to be honest. And they do more advanced ones as well, but yeah, they're pretty impressive. So. And also because it's 12 volts, it hasn't got a battery, and I'm not worrying too much about the electric side. It's not going to be too dodgy or that sort of level of power on it. So, but they look like they're well made. I mean, I did take it apart, and it looks like it's reasonably good components, which are all put together nicely. So, yeah, I'm quite impressed with that. I thought that was quite a clever purchase, and I'm just trying to remember what the software is that uses this. I've just gone blank on what the software is, but I will find that out before the end of the show.
Yeah, I think yeah, I'm definitely in the market for a new camera, an additional one, to be honest, to go on the side of the house, because I've got the Arlo at the front, which is still working fine, and the Blink XT at the back. So I was thinking of getting one down the side of the house with Blink. But I was thinking of Blink on that one. I do like the ones I can just mount up without running the cabling round.
Yes, yeah. I mean, this would work on Wi-Fi as well, and it does work really well on Wi-Fi. Actually, I'm surprised how good the image quality is on Wi-Fi. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. The other great piece of kit I have had arrive in the last few days is this thing. Can you see that?
Oh yes.
So this is a Car TV Mate Pro, and we've all seen these sort of like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto adapters for your car, which you plug in and then just gives you Android Auto or wireless or whatever. And some of them actually have that sort of Android devices on them which actually run software. This is somewhat different to that. So if you look at it, I think you can see the end of this, but let's try and hold it up so you can see it. There are two ports in there. There's a USB and an HDMI port.
Yeah. And
what you do with this is you get your HDMI device. For example, let's grab that one box. I've got little tricks around here. So plug it up. That happens to be a Fire TV stick.
Yeah.
Plug it in there. Plug it in your car, and you have whatever you've got on your Fire TV stick will play on the screen of your car if it happens to have Apple CarPlay.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
So and it powers it quite nicely, and it works, and it's quick. It's obviously touchscreen and things like that. And if you still want to use CarPlay, if you've got to have an iPhone device, it will let you pass through CarPlay on it as well, so you can still use that. It just replaces the CarPlay interface on your car. So if you've got a decent CarPlay interface, and most modern cars have, a pretty decent Fire TV mode, and it just seems to work. I had very little trouble setting it up at all. It comes with a couple of adapters as well. So if you've got a USB-C port on your car and not a USB, standard like USB, you can use that. It just seems to. It's good, and again, remarkably cheap. I think last I looked, they were about £29 on the Chinese websites. But so this is the Autocast one, but there are other makes of them as well. And there is an app for it as well, which actually adjusts some of the settings on it. But it's great because it works with this, but it also works if you've got a laptop plugged in. So you can give yourself a screen. It also works if you've got a little mini PC. So remember the old car PC ideas?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
that would be a really good way of getting one of those set up, because you wouldn't have to have a separate screen. You could use that and run it on that basis. I had one of the old UMPCs plugged in just to see how it would work. That worked pretty well as well. So there's lots of quite interesting options around it. Obviously great for electric vehicle owners. If you're stopping for a charge, you want to watch some play on your TV or whatever, you've got that full ability to do it. And because it's running just HDMI, you haven't got the restriction on apps and stuff you've got with some of the other sticks, so you can do whatever you like with it. And obviously you can stream from your phone as well, because you've got ability to have dongles. You could use something like a Chromecast if you wanted to, plugged into it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can plug it. Yeah.
So you can any sort of HDMI source would work with it. Now, obviously, you have to watch the legalities here. You wouldn't want to be doing this while you're driving.
No.
But it's great when you're parked up, and it's one of the things people say about EV. I mean, it doesn't really happen. I can't actually, other than when I was sit on the show talking to you while I'm just charging. I very rarely spend any length of time in the car while it's charging. I'm usually in bed because it's charging overnight. But on the road, you might want to stop and actually watch something while entertaining kids or whatever. And it's a great idea. Yeah. It works really well. So yeah, good stuff. That's the Autocast screen one, and they do a few other things as well. They do a couple of CarPlay adapters and Android Auto adapters as well, and some quite nice modern Android devices, because a lot of the car devices are quite old in the version of Android they're running, but they run some nice ones. But what would actually really impressed me was the speed, because I wasn't expecting it to be as performant as it is, and it works just like got a stick plugged into TV basically. So yeah, really good stuff.
Well, that's pretty good. Yeah, I like the idea of that. I keep meaning to have a look at some of these, these sites where you can get that kind of, the Chinese sites where you can get all that. But I think if I started going that, I'd end up with a lot of extra gadgets.
Don't go down the AliExpress rabbit hole, because the AliExpress rabbit hole is definitely a long one, especially if you like your tech, because they have all sorts of wonderful stuff on there. So it's good stuff.
So the other go ahead.
I was going to say, and the one final thing, which I've been playing with quite a lot actually, is this smart matter Zigbee hub, which is quite an interesting concept, because it is a Smart Life hub, or a TUYA hub for Zigbee devices, but it's also a Matter enabled device. So it allows you to have your Zigbee devices, your TUYA Zigbee devices. So and there's an awful lot of TUYA Zigbee devices out there, very cheap. You can sensors, door handle, temperature sensors. I mean, I think I've shown this one on camera before, but this is a little TUYA Zigbee one, the AA battery one. And the great thing about it being a Matter hub is it then allows you to interface with virtually any of the other ecosystems. So SmartThings, it supports a Matter, so it can see the devices that this hub is exposing. But the really cool about this, and SemiSmart makes some really good stuff, I have to be said. They're very good at their stuff. Is the area on this, the transmission on this range on this is huge. I was absolutely amazed. So I've got the hub outside in my studio, and I was changing the battery on one of my sensors, which I've got connected to it. I brought it into the house, right over the back of the house. So that's about probably 300 meters away from where I am now. So a long way away. Changed the battery, and it immediately picked it up on the hub, which is incredible range. I mean, I have 4 SmartThing hubs to cover that range in just to get repeaters and things. This didn't need a repeater or anything; it just picked it up. So really good. It doesn't pick up one of mine outside, which I'm going to have a look at and see if I can sort something around those lights. But yeah, I mean, and again, really cheap. They're less than £30. Which is for a Matter hub is just incredible. And of course, with being Matter, you can then interface to Amazon and to all the other ecosystems, and it'll just pick up on it. So yeah, it's really good. So a lot of stuff which isn't available on those systems, you can then hook into those systems through that. Now there are some restrictions. I remember, I think I showed on last time I was on the rain sensor. The sunflower rain sensor, and that works with Smart Life and Toyo, and it's really good in terms of how it detects rain and the levels and things on it. And I had it was a bit tough getting it actually into SmartThings initially, but I did get it in and it was working. But it wasn't overly reliable. Now I've actually added it using Matter, but the only thing is it doesn't show up as a rain sensor. It shows up as a contact switch. So this rain
sees the contact, being pressed,
turns on and off. So So there are some restrictions. I think that there's some stuff which is changing in the Matter standard, and hopefully there'll be updates to both the hub and the other end of it. But definitely useful if you want to get some cheap sensors and get them into other ecosystems. It works pretty well. And Toyo's great, but the actual automation on the software on Toyo isn't too brilliant. So having this ability to do this is really good. So I'm looking at a few options on that. But that's again, I say, less than 30 quid, which is crazy for a decent hub like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good though. I can tell you a couple of things I've been playing with. I can't show you on this screen, but I can show you on my laptop. There is, you can see that is the Windows MIDI implementation running that Pete Brown talked about on the show a while ago. So this is in the Canary channel, but you have to go and get the tools, the Windows MIDI services runtime. You have to get that from GitHub. It's not part of Windows yet. It will be, but there's the tool that it ships with, or that it will ship with. And with this tool, you can set up all the MIDI 2.0 settings. You can enumerate all your Windows your MIDI things. So now I can go on here now and I can do. Let me try one just quickly. I can do MIDI enumerate, and I can do list, I think. And it'll list all the MIDI 2.0. You can create virtual connections between them. So I sometimes use some software to route from one thing to the other. Let's go MIDI list EP. Oh, you can't do that one. Input. So what I can do, if I do, right, there we go. So it's not much to show you on here, but I've just done list there. So what that's actually showing is all the MIDI interfaces, and I've only got one on this laptop, which is a USB one. But if I did it on my main machine, I'd see all the USB interfaces on there. You can create mapping between them, and you can look at what's going on between the MIDI. You can set up network MIDI that Pete talked about as well, so you can run it up.
Playing that,
So there's a lot you can do with it there. But so if you want to try it at the moment, you have to be on the Canary channel for the to have the core stuff, and then you have to go and get the components, which is just a download. And it took me a while to figure out where on the GitHub it was to actually download it. I ended up getting the full source code. I don't need the source code. I'm not going to compile my own. There is one already done that you can do there, but you can look at all the virtual devices, and you can see all the MIDI 2.0 devices, and so there's a quick look at what devices I've got plugged in through the settings tool. which is doing that any rate effectively with just the one device on there at the moment. But it is looking good, so I'm looking forward to getting a bit further with that and do some more testing, because all my main stuff is on my main PC, all of the MIDI interfaces. So we're gonna I need to unplug them all to plug them into the Canary thing. So, but because they're on a hub, it's not too bad. I'm going to have a go at doing that. But it is looking good anyway. So I'm looking forward to getting to do a bit more with that. It does look, it is looking good. So I don't know what build it's planned to ship with. Of course, Canary isn't tied to a build, so it could be a while yet. But I think we'll get Pete Brown to explain what we can actually do with it. That would be good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That'd be good fun.
Yeah.
Just going back to my red sensor for me, because I know I mentioned last time the battery sense usage on it.
Oh yeah.
So it runs on a little cell battery, but it has obviously got a solar panel on it for sensing the light. So this has now been running. I don't know if you can see this, but it's been running for at least 4 weeks now. It is still at 98%. On the battery, and that's because it's basically charging up all the time. And you see at the bottom, this rain is normal. There's not volts being spent. So this is the Toya interface, which is way more sophisticated in terms for this device than it is on smart things. And you can sort of see the graph down the bottom, the light sensitivity, everything like that. But it's got a history of when it was rained. So I can tell you it was raining at 3 o'clock here. It didn't rain for very long. And then it's been nice and sunny the rest of the day. But it's quite nice to have that ability. And this is sort of the Toy app running ahead, and you sort of see just down the bottom there. That's the hub, and then these are all the devices which are sitting under the hub, and you can just sort of see through them and do a few more bits and pieces. It's got some nice network testing on it as well, so you can actually work out how strong your signal is on smart things. It's interesting when you start doing Zigbee stuff, because when you've got multiple hubs, you have to work out what channels interact with each other, and some channels interact with Wi-Fi, and you have to sort of work it out. So I'm also starting to look at some Matter over Thread devices as well, to see if they might be a better bet than Zigbee. But we'll see how it goes forward. I mean, Zigbee stuff is so cheap at the moment; it's just ridiculous. If you can buy packs of 10 temperature sensors for less than £20. So it's crazy prices on it, and they last a long time as well. So
yeah, that's pretty good. That. All right, well, to go with something new that you've got, I've been playing something old.
No, okay, yes.
So I've been going back to the 90s now.
Yeah.
So this is a Korg NX5R desktop music synth module, and this will take you right back to the 90s with those sounds. So we talked about the D110, which I've got up there, which is a late 80s one, which is the Roland one, but this is a few years later. This came out in 1999.
Yeah.
It's actually based on a 1997 Korg module with an extra daughter board, which is actually a Yamaha chip, which is actually the Wave Blaster chip, AW32. Remember the AW32 chip? So it's 100% compatible with that, which means, which I think the idea was at the time, if you had this hooked up to your PC, of course you could use it to do all the music from your Wave Blaster.
Yeah.
And so all your games, your Lucasfilm games, LucasArts, weren't they? LucasArts games, Monkey Island, all those kind of things. You could get the proper. So instead of using your Sound Blaster little FM chip, you'd have some decent sounds using this. But it's MIDI XG compatible, which is sort of like the general MIDI standard further on. But it's actually a nice, but a blast from the past for PC owners. You can see a PC connection there, to host PC, which is RS232C.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the little port on there.
Yeah.
It looks like the little. It's not. It's a bit like the mouse port, but it's a bit more. There's more pins on it than that. There's quite a lot of pins on there, isn't there? So I think it's pretty unlikely I'll find an interface to do that. But you can still work it through MIDI, which is what I've been doing. But actually, it's a really nice little synth. It actually will play 32 sounds simultaneously, 32 channels over the PC. With MIDI only supports 16 anyway, so you can only do 16 MIDI. But if you have a PC, you can do 32, and that little daughter board will play some as well. But it's got some really interesting sort of late 90s sort of digital sounds on, and then some which are very much what you would now disparagingly call rompler sounds. So they're just, there's a slap bass and there's a trumpet sound and all that kind of stuff. So which is what people wanted back then, because the idea with this was you had this on your desk hooked up with maybe your Mac or your PC running, maybe, or still your Atari running your MIDI software. And it's not like a like DAWs now in multi-track, so I can have as many audio channels as I want, really. Back then, pre-audio recording on hard disks, you would have only recorded in the MIDI world, which is just the note on information, note off information, and you had one of these little units to play back, and you could play back the whole track. So not something that many modern synths will do. Even brand new ones now tend not to do that. They tend to be only limited to perhaps 4 parts or 1 part or something like that. But this was 32 part, fully general MIDI compatible as well. But actually, the interesting sounds are in its own banks. But it took me a while to figure out navigating the interface on these little things is always a fun part. But I've figured it out, and taken back, because I had a Korg i3 in mid-90s, which is the same engine this kind of built on. Some of those sounds have come straight back to me as well. So it's quite a fun little device. So yeah, take it straight back. So I have started sampling it as well, so I can do some samples of it as well for the modern synths as well. But I've quite enjoyed doing that. And the other thing that I've been doing as well with the multi-poly, which is here, is I've been building up some synth emulations. So one of the things that it can do quite nicely, the envelopes and some other stuff, is modeled on the different classic synths. One is a Prophet 5. So I've done a whole section of Prophet 5 samples, sounds, recreating the original. So what I did is I haven't got a Prophet 5 here, but there is a plugin. So I've got one of the plugins, listened to some of those, listens to YouTube videos of the original, and recreated some of the sound and some new ones as well up on the up on the Korg multi-poly. So if you've got a multi-poly, one of the new multi-polys, then you can get that sound pack that's on there, which is really interesting. And I came across another synth that I can share my screen. A synth that is behind me here, but you can't see in the window. Let me share my screen. Okay, so there is is that sharing?
Not yet. No.
No. Well, let's make sure it actually shares. Okay, yeah, there we go. So behind me down there at the bottom is my Jen SX1000. Complete with one key. This is the key that the synth that I bought in 1988 for 30 quid. Off someone that it only plays one note at a time, so it's no good for them. And this was in the sort of late 80s when the analog synths were just before they came back in fashion. I picked that up, and they're actually sold in K's catalogs. I think if anybody remembers the catalog, so you could buy it and pay whatever it was. I don't know how much it was. It was about £200, I think. So whether you paid £3 something a week for 48 weeks or something like that. Anyway, that's the synth, and like I said, I've had it a long time. It's very simple, very basic, and it was cheap at the time, and that was the idea of it. But what someone has done is a team called Audio Things. They've recreated. Let me share my screen now. They've done a virtual version of the Jen SX1000. It was an Italian synth, and they've recreated the whole thing as a plugin. So, and actually, it sounds really, really good. So, €49 if you want to buy it. There's a demo version, which is what I used. So, I've just done a video of this synth, the virtual one, and what I've done is I've put it side by side with the original. So, I set my Jen up on the table in front of me, and then I ran the synth, the virtual synth, and actually dialed the same patches in on both to see how close they are. And actually, I was pretty impressed. They were pretty close. If anybody's familiar with the synth or analog synths in general, there's sawtooth, a sawtooth, square wave, and a pulse width. The pulse width was quite different on mine, but my pots, the dials on them, are incredibly noisy, and I used some special contact cleaner to get them, but they are really noisy now. So I think that was part of it. So the virtual version doesn't have all that scratchy pots that mine does. And random when you're trying to turn the LFO speed, it's all over the place on mine. But actually, I thought it did a pretty good job for it. For £49, I thought that was nice. A couple of people did say to, well, what's the point? But I think it's an old synth. If you want to get one, you can buy them off eBay. They're not really that dear. It's probably £400-500, but for £49, it's nice to play with. And actually, if you want to learn how to use a analog synthesizer and you're just getting into synthesis and maybe you've not even got any hardware yet and you're just looking and maybe you've got a controller or something, it's a really good beginner synth because it's very simple but will teach you the basics, and that's exactly how I learned on there. So I thought that was really nice, and I did speak to the developers after and told them they did a good job, and they're actually going to look at their PWM coding just to see if they can refine that a bit because it was quite a bit different to mine. So they're gonna have a look at it. So it was nice for him to take a look at that. So I thought that was pretty good. So that's a nice little fun.
I like that a lot. That's very cool.
Yeah, I like
again another really nice bit of UX.
Yeah, I mean, and it was really nice to be able to I actually had it in front of me, and I could dial them in because it's so simple. It's really easy to test as well. I think that's the one thing we're doing. It's a simple synth to emulate, but because of that, it's very easy to put exactly the same parameters on too. When you get these complex synths, it's not like you can't quite do that. Anyway, a good little fun project. The other project that I am working on that I want to mention tonight is a community sound bank. So the idea behind this one, I'll just bring up the post now, is I've done a lot of these sound banks now. A lot of them I've done for free. Some I've done as paid downloads, and even when I've done the paid downloads, there's always a free version available as well. But when I was first started, I thought it was quite hard to get known within the community of sound, to sound designers, for people to hear them. So what I've done is this community sound bank project. So if you've got one of these three synths, I've used the Korg with the three that I've got, the Mod Wave, the Wave State, and the new Multipoly. Maybe you're just starting out and programming these things as well. So you don't want to go to the whole trouble of making a full sound bank, uploading to some hosting company and setting everything up. So it's dead simple. What you can do is whatever you want, 1 sound or 2 or 10 or whatever you want to do, send them through to me. I'm going to collate all these community ones together, and then I'll do what I do when I do my own sound banks. I'll do a video, demonstrate the sounds, make them available pop on the digitallifestyle.com for free, and then people can download them and play them themselves. And then if you're the sound designer and maybe you want to sell your sounds, you can give away a couple of them to show people what the sounds are. So I'll include them, give you the plug for your paid set, and and I thought it'd be a nice way for us to share the sound patches together. So it's the 3 synths that I'm doing at the moment. I was advised a couple of people, you better watch the legal side of it, because we're going to be sharing these for free, and then people are going to be effectively maybe using their own performances and things like that. So I have got a Creative Commons license set up as well. I've got the link here at the moment. It's the CCO license, I think it was, that I chose anyway. So I'll include that, and I've got a little Microsoft form so people can put the details on and everything else. But so all you've got to do is get the sounds ready, export them, and then I'll sort the rest out. So I thought it'd be a nice little fun project. Some good responses on that. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Next few weeks we'll start collecting those together, and I'll get the videos up.
Ooh.
And the other video that I've done, the final one, is if you into the Berlin School electronic music, Tangerine Dream, that kind of thing, I've got a couple of tutorials up on how to do what's called ratcheting effect, which is where the sequencer plays a repetitive sequence, and every now and again you'll have some notes that multi-trigger. If you ever listen to any Tangerine Dream or that kind of, especially early 80s stuff, it's very common in that sort of Berlin School electronic music. And I found it really confusing at first how to get that effect, and once I twigged it, I thought, it's not as bad. So if someone explains it to you, you can actually do it quite easily. So I've set that up as well. So there's a couple of videos up on our YouTube channel with all the details on and how to create your own ratchet effects and do that Berlin school. Which I'm going to see Tangerine Dream as well in Manchester in a couple of months as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh.
So that's the stuff that I've been working on.
Well, I'm just trying to set this camera actually up, so give me a few seconds. I'll actually show you what it actually looks like.
That'd be good.
I remember what happened was it's called the OCam app. It's burst into life. It's doing its usual sort of check to see how far it can move the camera.
Wireless is connecting. Please wait.
And it tells you what it's doing.
Wireless connection succeeded.
A more pleasant voice than some of them are. So let's put it on the counter. So around here facing me. It'll be a bit funny for me to do, but you can see that, and that's I'm obviously facing there. And so you've got the two cameras. So you've got the tracking camera at the top and the panorama camera at the bottom. And if I touch anywhere on the panorama camera, it moves the tracking camera to point at that piece.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Which is quite good for the app. And obviously, I'm not using the app. I'm going to be using the my own Blue Iris sort of stuff to put it through. But you can set it up to use the app. But what I will do is once I get this, if I actually use one of these, I because I don't like video contact from the house going outside the house, so I put it on its own separate VNet and block that off from external access, and just have that going to the sound camera. But for now, it's just in the Wi-Fi, so I can actually show that. But it's quite a good system, and as I say, adding it was really nice. But I like the idea of two dual lenses. I've seen some dual lens cameras before, but they've always been really expensive. Because the thing about dual tracking cameras is it's one of the things. So like distraction robberies, you do get a distraction camera usage as well. People know that if they can trigger the movement of the camera, they can then sneak in past them, and so sometimes they do things like run a dog across in front of the camera to actually get it to track it while they go and steal stuff from the house. So I think having the two cameras gives you that extra piece of security there, which is quite nice. Yeah. So you see, I mean, the image quality was really good there. It's fast. It works well. And what you can see my little face on there quite happily, and it's good enough for me. You're not going to see it perfectly from here, but obviously it's decent quality. They also have a desktop app as well, which is quite nice. So if you don't want to set things up and you don't want to go into using OnViv and everything like that, then it's fun. One thing I will note is it's not easy to find the RSTSP channel for the second lens. Virtually all the OnViv software just picks up in one lens. So anybody who actually gets one of these, just add one to the channel number, then it'll find the second lens as well. They also do a 3-lens version, which I haven't looked at as well. So I might see if I can just get hold of a couple of those as well. Just try them out. There's quite a nice one they do, which is like 2 angled lenses like that. So you got for looking around corners effectively.
Right.
Yeah. The edge of your building, then you can follow people around without actually trapping them. And you get stuff like that. Yeah, so interesting that's something. But yeah, so it worked really well and connected, and it's one of the few cameras I've had which will actually work with 5G network, because most of them always want you to switch your 5G network off and just have 2.4 to actually connect up. You can usually turn it back on again afterwards. But
and because if you use something like the Eero, you can turn it off, but only for a short time. Then it turns it back on again. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, which is usually good enough for connecting. I mean, that's usually fine. The connection side of things is good. It works well. But yeah, there's it's really good. And I said the night vision is extremely good. The color night vision works really well with just very minimal light. And it has got a light on it as well. You can turn the light on if you want to. It's even got a siren, which is really noisy. That would scare anybody off. So it's got some really interesting bits and pieces, and You can do quite a bit with it. If you do want to use it on Viv, or if you want to use it for RTP streaming, you do need to set up a password on it. Strangely called the plain text password settings. If you don't set that up, you can't use it on Viv. But that took me a while to find. But once you found that, it's really good, and it has two-way audio and all that stuff. And if you want to, you can use their AI Smart service, which is, again, it's going to be sending out to Chinese servers, but it actually works really well. Actually, I did try it out just to check it out, and it's the person tracking on it is really good. So yeah, lots of interesting things on there. But it's just the main thing from my point of view is the fact it's an RTSP streaming camera at that price. And which seems to be a reasonably good quality. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, that is nice. That yeah, and you just, I think you showed us the other week that you just have your own server to host those videos.
Yes, that. Yeah, and I've got it working quite happily in my server, so it works really well.
Yeah, no, that's really good then. I did check before I came on if there's any interesting Windows Insider news. Other than the MIDI 2.0 stuff, I don't think there was too much in there. We've had some new builds. I've got the new Windows Hello on the new builds as well, which has got a new look. So for when it's doing the camera stuff, but other than that, it's been fairly quiet on the build front. Bits and pieces coming through, but yeah, we missed those days of the Big Bang updates, but we talked about that in the floor. It's just the way they are now. It's these minor updates, but the MIDI stuff does look quite good. I think I'm sure there's other stuff under the hood as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is everything I had for this week's show.
Yeah, I haven't got much else other than to highlight the fact that Everything Electric London's due up in a couple of months.
All right, that's good.
Time, so we'll see if I can get a bit more information from that from the next week's show, just to see what's going on. But so it sounds some interesting thing. What I did quite like in there, I forgot what they called it, Zap Heat Challenge, or they're basically doing a kind of scrap heat challenge for kids as a challenge.
Oh yeah.
In there, because obviously Robert Llewellyn, who runs Everything Electric, was the host of Scrap Heat Challenge. So yeah, I like the concept of that. So that's going to be in London at the Excel Centre in a couple of 6 weeks time, I think. So I'll get the dates and that for everything ready for the next show we do together.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. I think we've got a guest on next week's show, if I remember rightly. So stay in touch on that. You can find us on lifestyle.com with all the details on there. So Garry, where can we find you, and what have you got on your channel?
So you can find me on various places. I'm Garry WMA on virtual all channels, social media. On YouTube though, I am on the EV Owner channel, and the last thing I put up there was the long wheelbase ID Buzz review. I'm actually going to be putting a review of this camera, this Car TV Mate Pro thing shortly, so you can have a look and see how Alexa works on it and some of the other bits and pieces. So hopefully that'll go up fairly soon. Just having some actual problems with videoing it, which was because you get screen, you obviously get refresh rates.
Yeah, you get mixed up, don't you?
Yeah. So it was a little bit tricky to do that, but I think I've cracked that one. Also, it'll be the first time I've used the. I think we showed this on the show a couple of weeks ago about the new 360-degree camera. The Insta360 one. I'm loving that camera. That is so clever for doing stuff. So I got a chest mount for it, which was given as a bit of review kit, and my daughter decided she was going to wear it on a race the other day. They do sort of, I say races, junior park run thing where they just get a bit of fitness and have a bit of fun, and the footage of that is just amazing. It's really impressive. It looks like a professionally filmed video. It's really just for something she was wearing on a mount on the.
That's an interesting. It's that funny angle as well when it's like it also has a peep show type thing where they've got sort of fixed camera.
And sort of her enthusiasm of running it, which is really nice to see. So
that's good.
It's good, but it's great. I mean, and for the car video, it's fantastic because I can set it up behind my head, and it gives me views of everything I need to look at, so I can do all the angles I want to get, which is really, really good. Just trying to get the audio sorted out at the moment, which is interesting challenge, and that's something I might actually review on one of the shows and actually try demo the audio quality of. I've got the new DGA mic mini, which is a tiny little microphone. It's about that big. But it's a Bluetooth microphone, and also it's got its own technology as well for radio mics, which works really well with the Pocket 3 camera, which is but actually it's a radio mic which allows you to have two mics to one receiver.
Oh, that's what I've got. Yeah. They are really good. That I use them. That's the little ones, which I used at the Synth Fest, and actually you can actually do interviews and give one. You've got one each there. So it's quite good for that.
Because when you mentioned this before, and I've got some like that as well, but they're really subject to interference when you get radio mics.
Yeah.
These DJI mic twos are supposed to be not subject to interference. They work really well on my phone on Bluetooth. It's really good quality. But I'm finding when I use it with the 3D camera, the 360-degree camera, sorry, it's not working as well on Bluetooth. So I want to see if I can get a better connection for that. So I'm waiting for the actual other mic and receiver to come. What I have got is talk about that interview things. Someone actually has done a mount for the DJI Mini, which you just clip the Mini into the top of to make it into a handheld microphone.
Oh yeah. So
I'm going to try that out as well. But that should give me a very good quality sound. But particularly for the car, it's going to be very good to have that quality of sound in there. So we will see how that works out. But I might do an experiment on one of the podcasts and see how good that quality is. Probably going to be better than the microphones I'm currently using. I've been having all sorts of problems with my microphones, so I apologise for the audio quality I've been giving in the last few podcasts, because I can't use my standard headphone at the moment. If I plug this into the USB port on this laptop, it works fine for about 5-10 minutes, and then it just goes like a Dalek. It really does. It's not the microphone, because I've used it on other devices and it's absolutely fine. It's just with this laptop. And I can't quite figure out what's the cause. Probably something to do with the USB ports on they are fairly notorious on HP laptops are going the USB-C ports, because they're only surface mounts and they're not very well restrained. So and this does get knocked around a bit, but yeah, it's an interesting conundrum what I do about that. I want to get better mic quality, so we will see.
Yeah, well, there may be one of those. Yeah, give it a try.
Yeah, cool stuff.
Excellent. Right, well, we'll be back next week. I think we have got a guest, but we'll find out next week. We've done the links and everything, so we'll see you next week.
Okay.